The Marco Polo entered service in September 1965, named Alexander Pushkin, for the Baltic Shipping Company as a Soviet passenger liner. The bows were strengthened for breaking the ice on the Antarctic route from the Baltic to Canada. In 1991 she had a near total reconstruction at the cost of $60 million. As from 2012 she is now chartered to cruise and maritime voyages. We travelled on her on the first week in September 2015, and that was the week she became 50 years old. St Magnus Cathedral dominates the skyline of Kirkwall, the main town of the Orkney Islands. It's the finest example of Romanovsky architecture, built in 1137 and dedicated to the murdered Earl Magnus. His remains were found in 1919, bricked up in one of the pillars. The first bishop was William of Old, and the diocese was under the authority of the Archbishop of Norway. Today the cathedral has become part of the Church of Scotland. The ruins of the Earl's Palace lies in the middle of Kirkwall, built by Patrick, Earl of Orkney. Construction began in 1607 and was largely undertaken by forced labour. Earl Patrick is widely acknowledged to have been one of the most tyrannical noblemen in Scottish history. Stornoway is the main town on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides, off the northwest coast of Scotland. The town was founded by the Vikings in the early part of the 9th century, and because of its central position and natural sheltered harbour, the town flourished to become the capital of the Outer Hebrides. In 1847, Lewis Castle was built for Sir James Matheson as a country house. The grounds are a pleasure to walk in as they come right down to the coastline. The castle now belongs to Lewis College and is not open to the public. Tobermory is situated off the west coast of Scotland on the Isle of Mull. The town was founded in 1788 as a fishing port and now has a population of around 700. The town is better known as Balamory from the children's television programme of that name. All the houses and shops along the harbour road are all brightly coloured. Also, in 1971, the film When Eight Bells Toll was filmed here, starring Anthony Hopkins and Robert Morley. We landed at Hewtown on the island of St Mary. It is the largest and most populated of the islands. The Isles of Scilly is 28 miles southwest off the coast of Cornwall. In 1949, the British Crown sold Hewtown to the inhabitants of the town, but the rest of the islands belong to the Duchy of Cornwall. The island became the home of the British Prime Minister Sir Harold Wilson and became his final resting place in 1995. The little chapel was built by Brother Deodat in 1914, but he demolished and rebuilt it 3 times over a period of 9 years. It is now only 16 feet by 9 and is possibly the smallest consecrated chapel in the world. Honfleur looks so utterly enchanting in the sunlight, it's hard to remember that it was built essentially for commerce. Shops fight for space behind the quays in this extraordinarily picturesque setting, and restaurants stretch their tables onto the cobbled streets from the historical wood-frame buildings. Its harbour sits tucked away on the southern side of the Seine estuary. Instead of commercial shipping, it now attracts yachts of all sizes. The first written record of Honfleur is a reference made by Richard III, Duke of Normandy, in 1027. By the middle of the 12th century, the city represented a significant transit point for goods from Rouen to England. One of the most interesting buildings is St. Catherine's Church. It's the largest wooden church in France. When it was built, it was only supposed to be temporary, but after 500 years it's still standing. The bell tower was detached from the church and built of stone to hold the weight of the bells.